Going into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, one of the biggest questions fans were asking was, who could appear in this movie? Pretty much any actor who has ever played a Marvel character was predicted to be in this film. And going into the film, I was worried that it was going to be a constant list of cameos focusing on fan service instead of story. Fortunately, the movie was quite reserved with its cameos, and this wasn't a problem. However, I do believe Multiverse of Madness has a different cameo problem. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Cinemaze, and there will be spoilers for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now, the cameos in this film were limited pretty much to just the Illuminati scene, and while I'm glad they didn't overdo the cameos, I didn't think their inclusion was particularly effective. I've heard some people disappointed with who showed up, and others disappointed by how easily they were defeated. But for me, the problem was how the cameos did not benefit the story. The cameos had no impact on the plot or the characters, and so they end up feeling like cheap fan service. But I have a pitch on how I think these cameos could have been made more effective. Before I get into that, let's quickly go through the cameos and what I thought of them. Firstly, we have Captain Carter and Maria Rambeau. These were fun to see in live action, but ultimately they were spoilt by the marketing, and so they weren't too surprising or interesting. We also meet Sir Patrick Stewart as Professor X, again spoilt by the marketing, and this would have been an awesome one to be surprised by in the cinema, but I wasn't. It's always great to see this character, and he had a bit more to do than the other cameos, but because it was an alternate version of the character, and we have already said goodbye to this character in Logan, it didn't have that much impact. Now we have John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. He's been the fan cast for this role for years now, and so this cameo was just pure fan service, and I can't lie, it was great to see him here. He looked great in the suit, and as an Office and an MCU fan, it made me happy. The problem is, he didn't have much to do. This was Krasinski's chance to prove that he is the best man to play this character, and that the fans were right all along. But it didn't feel that way. He didn't feel like the smartest man on earth. I don't know if that's the script or Krasinski's fault, but other than his look, he didn't sell me on his version of Reed. I think if we see him again in the main timeline, it would make this cameo more interesting retroactively, and I want to see him again, and I want to see him have more to do. But on the other hand, he didn't sell me on his version of the character. So is there someone out there who could do this better? Now, I never thought I would say this, but the best and most surprising cameo was Anson Mount as Black Bolt returning from the awful Inhumans TV show. This is the only one that genuinely surprised me. I cannot believe that they brought this actor back and they gave him the comic book suit and an awesome brutal death. It was just really good and really surprising. So they're the members of the Illuminati that we got in the film. Most of them are fun and cool to see, but none of them benefited the story or the characters. And that's mainly because they have no emotional connection to our main characters, and then they die without doing anything. Now going into this, I think there's two types of cameos. Some of them need to benefit the story and characters, while others need to just be a bit of fun for the audience. Think about Spider-Man No Way Home, which I think dealt with cameos and the multiverse really well. You have the cameos that were for the fans, characters that were only in the film just for a bit of fun and didn't have much impact on the plot. For example, Sandman and the Lizard. They don't do much here, but audiences enjoy seeing them return. They worked for No Way Home because there were other cameos that were more impactful. All the cameos in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness fall into this category. They are fun, but they don't serve any other purpose, and that's the problem. But back to No Way Home, we also have Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire appear. They have an impact on the plot. They connect with Tom Holland's version of Peter. Garfield has an arc as he saves MJ when he couldn't save Gwen. Maguire stops Tom Holland from killing the Goblin. These cameos are more than just fan service. They have arcs, they impact the plot, and they connect with our main character. And I felt that that was missing in Multiverse of Madness. So here's how I would change the Illuminati scene. I'm not planning on changing the overall story or the film, just the characters included in the Illuminati scene in a way which I think is more effective. The idea of the scene is still the same. Doctor Strange is captured, he meets the Illuminati, he tries to warn them of Wanda, and then Wanda kills the Illuminati members. But through connecting some of the cameos to Wanda, I think their deaths could have been more impactful and then benefited the character of Wanda. Now personally, I found it odd that there was almost no mention of Quicksilver or Vision in the film, considering how important they have been to Wanda's journey up to this point. And dealing with the multiverse, it felt like a missed opportunity. The easy way to introduce Vision is actually already set up in the movie itself. Now we see Ultron bots escorting Strange and then fighting Wanda. Now remember that Vision was created as a form of Ultron. I think it would have been a perfect way to introduce some form of Vision into this movie by having the Ultron bots sound like Vision. Therefore, as Wanda destroys the Vision Ultron robots, it's like she's destroying part of her past, and this begins her descent into a more villainous role. Next up would be Mr. Fantastic and Black Bolt, just like in the film. I'm keeping these two here because I found these cameos the most fun and interesting, and they also had the least to do, so it makes sense for the cameos who have no connection to Wanda to die first. These cameos fall into the category of fun and fan service, but they do reference two important Illuminati members from the comic. Ideally, I'd make them put up a bit more of a fight against Wanda to make them seem like this amazing superhero team and a bit more of a threat. Also important that Reed still talks to Wanda about being a father. But ultimately, these cameos exist to have brutal deaths at the hand of Wanda. Next up, we would have Captain Marvel, but in this world, it's not Maria Rambeau or Carol Danvers, but Monica Rambeau, Maria's daughter, who we met in WandaVision and established a relationship with Wanda. I find it bizarre that they would choose Maria Rambeau for the film when she has nothing to do with Wanda or Doctor Strange, when her daughter has already been set up to have a connection. And if they did want to use Maria, maybe they should have touched on the fact that she is related to a friend of Wanda, so that Wanda may feel something as she kills her. Anyway, in this version, Monica would be Captain Marvel, and we've established that Ultron was defeated and is now Vision, and we know in the film that Thanos was defeated on Titan, which ultimately means Vision was not killed for the Mind Stone, and the events of WandaVision would never have happened. Monica would have had to have gained her powers through a different method in this world, and therefore she would not have a connection to Wanda. So now, Wanda knows Monica and has been helped by Monica in her world, but Monica does not know Wanda. And so Monica would charge in with a cocky, carefree attitude, just like we saw her mum do in the real film. Wanda at first would be apprehensive to fight her, because ultimately she respects Monica, but Monica keeps fighting, so Wanda has to kill her. In the real film, the next cameo was Captain Carter. It was cool to see in live action, but I think we can do better. What she represents is important. Someone who is not massively powerful, not the smartest person in the room, but an ordinary person who stands up for what is right. And because of that, she's earned a place on the team. However, again, she lacks that connection with Wanda. So who could we replace her? Well, my first thought was Captain America himself. He has a strong relationship with Wanda, and we could make it interesting by showing an alternate version of Captain America, such as an old version of the character, or a version who has lost his powers. But ultimately, I don't think it's time to bring Chris Evans back yet. I think a more suitable option would be Hawkeye. After Vision, Hawkeye has been established as having the closest connection with Wanda, and it felt weird that he's been missing from Wanda's journey after Endgame. Now, because it's the multiverse, we need to have fun with it, so this version of Hawkeye would be similar to Old Man Hawkeye from the comics, where he's lost his eyesight, but he's still a skilled fighter. So Old Man Hawkeye would replace Captain Carter. Now, Hawkeye knows he's no match for Wanda, so he doesn't fight. In this universe, he also has a close relationship with Wanda, and so he tries to talk to her, to help her. Wanda is shocked at first by his appearance and asks what happened to his eyes, and he explains that fighting Ultron, Pietro tried to save him from dying, but he was hit by a bullet in his optic nerve. Pietro saved his life, but Hawkeye lost his eyesight, and that surprises Wanda that Pietro is still alive. And Clint tries to guilt her. He says that if she stops now, it's not too late, they can calm down and go and talk to Pietro. She can be reunited with him. As he calms Wanda down, he tries to sneakily shoot an arrow with the restraints that disabled Doctor Strange's power, but she dodges it and misses. Wanda, feeling betrayed, mocks him that if he didn't lose his eyesight, he wouldn't have missed, and then she kills him by controlling his arrow and shooting it back into his chest, similar to Captain Carter's death by her shield. Then we have the final member of the Illuminati, Professor X, and this would be pretty much the same. Patrick Stewart tries to fight Wanda within their minds and she wins, but there would be two small differences. Firstly, Professor X would say to Wanda that she is like a niece to him, establishing a relationship between the two within their universes, and implying that Magneto is her father, like in the comic, who is like a brother to Charles. But the key change here is that he realizes he cannot defeat Wanda, and so before Professor X dies, he sends out a psychic message using his powers, and right before his neck is snapped, he says, Pietro. With the Illuminati defeated, Wanda is quickly met by Quicksilver, who received Charles' message. Now this could be either version of Quicksilver, but I think it's most impactful if it's Aaron Taylor Johnson's version. Wanda is happy to see him and wants to be a family with her children and him, but he doesn't see her as his sister. He wants to save the version of Wanda that's been taken over. He does not care for our version of Wanda, and so they fight. But of course, Wanda wins, and she cries as she kills this version of her brother, and now she's all in on doing anything for her children. Ultimately, this showcases Wanda's descent into madness. She kills Ultron bots with Vision's voice, like she's undoing her past. She kills Black Bolt, a man who has done nothing to her. She then kills Mr. Fantastic, someone who is a father, just like how she wants to be a mother. She then kills Monica, killing someone close to her in the main universe. She then kills Hawkeye, who has a relationship with her in both universes, and then she kills Professor X, someone who sees her as family. And finally, she kills Quicksilver, someone who is family. Without changing the plot of the scene, just the characters involved, it switches it from pointless cameos to characters with an emotional connection to Wanda, and it ramps up the emotional stakes as Wanda slowly defeats them and sends her down a path of insanity and desperation. Currently, the Illuminati scene has no impact on the movie, and it's just there for fan service, but with my pitch it showcases the emotional journey that Wanda is on and what she is willing to do for her children, even killing versions of people she cares about. Some of the cameos exist just for a bit of fun, but now some of them truly mean something to the character and the story, while still having fun with the multiverse, and I believe it makes the scene more effective and solves the cameo problem. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the cameos that we got in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and what you think of my changes that I would make to the film to try and make the cameos feel a bit more impactful. Be sure to like and subscribe, it really helps the channel out, and there will be more videos coming soon. But for now, thanks for watching. Cinemaze.